morning, bonjour, tanze. Welcome to Cookem's Kitchen. I'm Glenna Henderson, also known as Cookem Daisey. And hello, Wasatch crew. Today we're going to make a fast dinner. I really enjoy the rotisserie chickens that are in the stores. They're cheap. They go a long way for a meal, and then they also help for sandwiches and different things that we're gonna do tomorrow. A few stuff with chicken. It's okay to buy them too in the store, of course. Like these are ready cooked, and they're like between $8 and $10, and that's how much the actual chicken costs per chicken. And sometimes even more when they're organic and stuff like that. So, you know, depending on what your budgets are and you know, how quickly you want to prepare a meal, this is something easy to grab, cool it off, and then you can put it in the fridge if you're not going to eat it right away, or take it on a picnic on another day. But I mean, like examples, like for tomorrow we're going to make chicken quesadillas, chicken salad sandwiches, or just chicken sandwiches. You know, it's very versatile. It's chicken, and usually everybody who eats meat is a fan and or uses it in their diet. It's low calorie and low in fat, so it's always a good thing, and it's high in protein, so it's good for athletes like yourselves. So we want to cut some veggies, and then we're going to reheat or warm up this chicken with a little bit of flavor to make a quick meal that tastes a little bit more home than just cutting this. And of course you can eat it like it is as well, but it's always nice to jazz it up a little bit. So for celery, comes in stalks, or you can buy it single stalks. You know, like you can buy the organic kind, you can buy the ones that are just celery hearts, and they come kind of like this where everything's chopped off. And but the only thing that really can't be used on the celery, unless you're looking for a dark flavor or something to tone down something really extra spicy, is the celery leaves. But the ends and the butts and all that kind of stuff you could put in soup stock. And for this, like why I'm cutting the celery in half right down the middle, so if you guys want to start doing that too, is to make it so it's bite-sized and it fits on your spoon well. Especially if you're making soups and things like that, you want to have a smaller bite in there, and that helps with cutting and chopping. So if you all want to get started on the celery stalks, you know, if they're big, if they're large, sometimes you have to cut them in 3 or 4s, and the reason why I do a bunch at a time is that also saves me time later in the week. So, you know, like if tomorrow or the next day I had some chicken left over, and I'm not a big fan of chicken legs, but I'll eat the meat and take it off, and then I could make a little soup or add it to ramen, or, you know, use some leftover rice and make something really quick, like just stir fry it with an egg, and that'll make it chicken fried rice with some soy sauce. So it's always good to have your, you know, like if you're cleaning something, you clean 2 stalks, sure, that works. But I mean, if you have, you know, like all the outside, this is what I did. I took outside of a full stalk of celery, and, you know, I'm prepping it all so that you guys, so that I have stuff for later tonight for supper, but also for tomorrow, and, you know, or the next day when I need it. And so anyways, I have all these stalks. Now, we'll just say we'll start with 2, okay? 2 of these little pieces here, and if you feel comfortable holding them in place and getting them in a spot, and remember, it's still the same claw motion when you're cutting vegetables, is so your knife hits that and not your fingers, right, when it's going down. So if you know, like you want to be able to have that buffer when you're doing your cutting and stuff like that. Please, you know, like to lessen the incidence of you cutting yourself or anybody else, or you know, then you just want to have that butt motion here with your cutting. So you can have little bite-sized chunks with this. You can go super thin if you like, or super long. You know, it just depends on what you're doing. Like when it's cut like this, This will go nice on a platter too, right? And you can make stalks like this for dipping. So there's a few things you can do for your lunches or for yourself, you know, like, and then you'll be ready for the work week or the school week too. And what a big help that would be if you have younger siblings, you know, to be able to help your mom and dad or your caregivers with meal prep. Because we're going to roast chicken the second time, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip here, and I'm going to say put the celery on the bottom. Make a little of your container, whatever you're going to warm your food up in. Let's put your celery there because, like I said, it's going to have a little barrier and it's going to have the direct heat from the oven so that it has a nice cook. And then it also, your chicken doesn't get too crispy or dry inside there. That the steam from the celery will cook and give it a little bit of extra flavor and juiciness, okay? So we're gonna lay that on the bottom. So when I'm cooking things, like at home, I use one chopping board. You know, I start off with the things that are less contaminant. And by contaminant, I mean like they don't have any food-borne disease or different things like that, or illnesses that can occur. So if I'm preparing a bunch of celery for now or for later, I would cut that on the board first, and then stick with all your vegetables, and then always do your meats last. And when I work in the restaurant, I have this red board. I have green, yellow, white, and red boards. And so green is usually for things that I'm not going to cook ever, like vegetables. And then red is for meat, so that we don't cross-contaminate and there's no accidental poisoning. So you got, you know, like, you don't have to do that at home so much if you're careful. And I want you all to be careful with how you're preparing food and stuff, because the last thing you need to do is to make yourself sick, miss days of work, miss days of life, and it's never fun to have food poisoning. So if you guys want to get your veggies ready, you can mix them inside with your celery, your frozen veggies, inside your pan. But like I said, so I made a little layer here, and I'm going to put some carrots in here too. And those of you who rinsed your rice, I've also done that, and that's one of the best tricks. You know, like anything loose or whatever that might come in the rice bag, like you know, sticks and all that kind of stuff. You find some weird stuff in there, or you know, rice comes from the water and is grown inside water, so sometimes there's leaves and everything. It's a plant, so but there's a lot of starch, right? So if you rinse your rice, then it's not going to be as sticky, and it's going to maintain its texture a lot better. So I'm going to drain this and then re-add water, the right amount. This is a long grain rice, so this cooks at least 15 minutes. You have to bring it to a boil and then cook it on low. So because I have a cup and a half, that's my measuring cup for this, I'm going to use 3 cups or 2 of these. So it's always usually a 2 to 1. You can read the ingredients. Sometimes it's 1.5 cups of water to 1 cup of water. Other times it's 1 to 1, like with minute rice, okay? So always read the directions. So you guys have 2 cups, and then you want to have a lid that fits really well. Sometimes, you know, I've been in situations where the pots don't fit. Find something that sits pretty tightly on there, even a plate or whatever, and just be careful about heat. But as much as possible, you know, to have a tight fitting lid. And then turn this on high and let it bring it to a boil, and then you turn it right down to low. So you don't want to leave it alone for too long, unless you you know, until it comes to a boil. I do always try and teach people to you know, especially at home and anywhere when you're dealing with a stove, is to not leave the kitchen when you're cooking. I would highly recommend that. There's other things, you know, we're sitting here talking and prepping and things like that. You can bring your phone in with you, bring music, all that kind of stuff. Be in watchful care, because sometimes, especially at home, you know, there's spills or accidents and things like that. And, you know, for example, yesterday or the other day, somebody spilled some chicken soup when they were moving a pot when I was cooking with them. So there was 3 or 4 cooks there helping. And the next day I turned that burner on, and the next thing you know, and it was on fire. So it had started a fire. And those can happen, that can happen very easily. And you know, you don't want to be playing a video game or having a shower and all that kind of stuff while something's aflame. So that's another tip. And you might think that that's something new, but it isn't. You have to be very careful, like you know, the same way with we're doing food, you know, safe with your with not only what's going in your food and what's going in your mouth. It's also safe practice to follow good rules of cooking, and that's like, do not leave your food alone or any of the stoves on and stuff. The microwave is fun, but it also can start things on fire, right? So always be cautious when you're using power sources, fire. I'm adding onion because, you guys, I love onion. I have some garlic and stuff here too, but we're gonna get to this chicken now. So your rice is on, your stove is getting ready, and now we got the chicken here. So these are all cooked, obviously, right through. They should be, you know, you could peel off the pieces. These are my favorite. I love the wings, you know. You can lay that on top of your vegetables. We're gonna put some onion powder on top here, and then and a little bit of water so it'll steam veg up a little bit. So for chickens, there's the breast, and I'm using a big knife again because I just want to cut it all off. So if you go right at the top, there is a bone in there, or cartilage, but you can cut through it so that your chicken is laid out like that at the top. And then, you know, like the legs should come off, and then there's meat there. And it's up to you how much of this meat you guys want to use. If you just want to use half a chicken, then you put, you know, 1 wing, 1 leg, and then let's save some breast for tomorrow for our chicken quesadilla meal. So there's chicken skin that should come off. You know, and then there's chicken pieces. So the pieces we can save for tomorrow, but there's a turkey thigh that's attached to the leg, and this is right underneath here at the bottom, and there's this little piece here. Some people like to eat it. There is meat in there, but it's a high fat content. And then so your thigh meat is really good. If you guys want to keep your skin on, you can. If not, like, you can take it off. Of course, it adds flavor. And I'm going to put that on there. And for the breast, I am going to slice it. It's okay if it's messy, you guys, because, you know, the chicken is going to be all cooked together. But, you know, once it's all done, you can cut it up into chunks and lay it on top here. I'm just going to turn my rice is cooked. I mean, my rice is boiling, so now it's going to cook for the next 15 minutes. That's from my directions, you guys, not yours. So yours might be 10 or 12 or even 20 minutes depending on the rice, okay? So I'm going to lay that all on top here. Wash my hands here, rinse my hands off. We now know, because of a pandemic, how important it is to wash our hands, right? For the 20 seconds, and, you know, make sure you're getting them soapy and drying them within all the crevices. You have this, and we have our salt and pepper. So again, you just want to sprinkle salt and pepper on top. And again, it's to your taste. You know, I like salt, so I'll put some around the edges, make sure that the juices from the vegetables underneath are going to have a little bit of flavor. And again, the onion powder, you know, like, it actually doesn't taste as much like onions as a full onion, but it sure gives a nice flavor. some people don't like the skin, or they don't like the nubs, or they just want to, you know, take this and eat it maybe at your desk or whatever. So it's kind of on you, you know, like it's your preference. If you like to have, you know, like a little bit of I guess some like going out for wing night, right? I like chewing on a wing, so I'm gonna leave it whole and have that with the skin and everything on it. I have some, you know, like the chicken is deboned now and no skin, and then there's other pieces with the skin on in mine. So it's all on it's preference, and it's time. You know, we don't want to exclude anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil, and then it's going to go into the oven. So I have butter here. You guys can use butter or margarine if you like, but it helps like give that little crispy feeling to your vegetables, but it does add fat, so it's up to you and what your diet needs are. So we like the flavor, and so I'll add a little bit of butter. I don't use margarine at home, so I always just have butter here, but it's totally, again, optional, something that'll add a little bit of flavor and crisp your vegetables more. So if you want and you guys have it, you can use some of it. Again, that's just something to add to your meal here, right? And now we have this half a chicken left, or pieces that we can use tomorrow. And so today, after we're done putting these in the oven, you guys can take the rest of the meat off and separate stuff. I would suggest you do that, and I'm gonna do that to mine too. So next time you go in the fridge and you're hungry, you know, like for lunch, or you have to make lunches, you're gonna be able to have something readily available. So, you know, like it would have been nice, it would be nice if you cooked your own chickens, then you wouldn't have any of this added ingredients, I guess, on top of your chicken. So you could put your own seasonings on there, or barbecue sauce, or poultry seasoning and things like that, or just plain salt and pepper, some lemon. You know, there's thousands and millions, I would say, of recipes that are online on how to bake chickens, and with different flavors and people's, you know, depending on your backgrounds and all that kind of stuff, you may do chickens differently, from all over the world, and what your tastes are. So so yeah, I always do that when I buy these chickens. I take all the meat off, and you know, you don't have to be fancy cutting anything separately or whatever. You know, just take out the bones and take as much meat off of these things. If you need a knife or whatever, then use that too. And again, you know, it's just all personal preference. The skin gets eaten in my house, so we keep that, and I like the wings whole, so I keep them in there for when I'm hungry. So it's all on you. I'm gonna slice this chicken up here a little bit, the breast, so it's ready to go tomorrow, or for sandwiches or any kind of thing that you're gonna do. And there you go. So we could put your chicken in the oven. It's gonna cook for about 15 to 20 minutes, as long as takes for the rice, and away we go. Have a great day. Thank you.